just kind of hear how you all have thought about that. Maybe Lakenna, just in terms of like what happens when you put kids, especially younger kids, in front of a screen all day. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you think about engagement and keeping them focused? I mean, I have a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old. I can't keep them in front of a Zoom for more than like 3 minutes at a time. So
No, so thank you for this question. I don't know if I want to thank you for going first, but no, our team thought intricately about because our state came out with very strict regulations on how many hours children should be engaged in instruction. And so then we had to design our schedule based on that first is the first bucket. And then we went very heavy on what our teacher culture in terms of like what the delivery, what does the teacher sound like, look like, do. We did things like practice sharing your screen and what you would say. Like we norm around things like the first 5 minutes of class sound like this. Every single lesson starts with the what, how, why. What are you going to teach? What are you going to learn today? How are you going to learn it? And why is this important? And then, practicing that positive narration in a virtual setting with the teachers. Our kindergarten, first, and second grade students, first of all, I will say they are very resilient and they can adapt to anything. So the first week or so, we hit it hard with, okay, press that magic button on the bottom of the screen. It's called mute, and you're going to unmute yourself. And so we made sure the students knew how to use the tools that they had. So now if you walked virtually into a Memphis Merit Academy kindergarten classroom, students know that they stay on mute unless it's time for them to respond. They unmute themselves. They know how to join the breakout room when they're being assessed. Those things are second nature and routine for them now. So we thought about just like we're a very structured school. So in person, just like they understand what it means to pass in a paper or do things like that, they understand what it means to speak when they're in the virtual setting. Also, our schedule allows for breaks. So students don't sit consistently online from like a 8 to 3. They have their chunks of instruction, and then they have asynchronous learning when they're not on live with the teacher. So we also sent each one of our students home with a backpack filled with their Chromebook, math manipulatives, the copies of worksheets, laminated dry erase markers, whiteboards. So students had the materials that they needed to be successful and didn't have to depend on whether or not a family could provide that for them. So I would say that, right now we're in the middle of our second step round, and I have seen so many students who've grown not just one step, but 2 steps and even 3 steps, and 3 steps equals 1 year, So I'm very proud of that, and it is reassuring to me that what we're doing is effective, because that was what we wanted to make sure of. We didn't want to be in front of the students just making them smile because they're so young, but we also wanted to be effective. As a parent of a second grader and a third grader, that was extremely important for me. I don't want this year to be a loss for my child. I want this year to be a year that they remember for being very different, but they're still equipped to be able to be successful. So, no, the expectation for students is still very high. Guided reading still happens. When someone else is reading, they just keep themselves on mute, and then when it's time for them to come off, they're word solving. They're doing all of those things in a virtual setting.